Hey everyone, Citrus here with I think this is the fourth or third. Okay, it's definitely third devlog of Spirit Seeker. And as you can see, we got our main menu here from last week. As we load up our scene, things might look a little bit different. Maybe not just yet, but now you're starting to see got power-ups everywhere, and that is because one of the things I've been doing over the course of the past week is just sort of finishing this rough block out for like what I want the first map to be. And we now kind of have this giant room here at the back, which is sort of going to be like a boss arena. And now I can really showcase this. I did change a little bit about the camera as well, and that is so you can now rotate the camera around the player without actually moving the player. Like previously it was just rotating, the player was rotating with whatever direction the camera was facing, but now it's a little bit different. And then just like if I were to go this way and then if I press forward, it's now just going to go in the direction that the camera is facing. But I do have the chance to like stop at say an intersection in the maze and look around to determine where I want to go before I start moving, instead of like I'm always facing and moving in whatever direction the camera is. But yeah, as you can kind of see, there's like power-ups pretty much everywhere, and that's sort of the vision for Spirit Seekers. Like it's so power-up centric that it's not rare to find a power-up. They are everywhere. It's just a matter of what power-ups are around you, because there's going to be tons of different ones by the end of it, hopefully, with tons of different types. And I think I'm going to have an attunement system where you're like attuned to one type and you can only use that one type unless you go somewhere in the maze and change that attunement type. But yeah, they're everywhere, so it's up to you to be like, okay, I'm in this area, there's tons of power-ups, and now I've got to figure out how I'm going to use those to my advantage, because they're here for me to use, and the combat's going to hopefully be balanced to account for that. And so you'll have to make use of whatever's in your area in order to beat the enemies and keep moving forward. I did mess with the camera settings a little bit to try and fix the clipping, because it's bad, it still is. I do think there was a minor improvement because it's not happening as often. You have to like pretty much be against a wall and then like have the camera go into the wall and then you notice that, but it does still kind of happen pretty frequently. I think especially if I'm like sprinting through the maze going really fast, it tends to happen even more, just because you're turning around rapidly and like the camera kind of distances itself from the player while sprinting while the player's moving fast. So it's not perfect by any means, but there was still some improvement there, and frankly I'm thinking maybe it may be for the best to sort of rework this map in the sense of making like the whole maze just a little bit wider, so that as I'm like going through the maze, sure the clipping's bad if I'm against a wall, but if the maze is a little wider, then it's harder to be right up against the wall because you've got more space to work with. And I think that could be a nice improvement. Another thing that's probably going to be coming within the next week is sort of having like a HUD, a heads-up display, and that'll include like a health bar and things. There's not a health system yet, but that'll be part of it. And then I also want to make like indicators for which power-ups you have active, because like I've got the ability to sprint now, and if I try to pick up another sprint power-up, it won't work. Which, by the way, that was another thing that happened this week, was getting the sprint to work. And the way it works is, once you get it, you unlock the ability to sprint. As soon as you start sprinting with the shift button, it'll start a 10-second cooldown, and the sprint will disappear after that, and you'll be able to collect sprint power-ups again. But where was I going with this? Oh yes, the heads-up display. It would be nice to like have those indicators of like, okay, I have the ability to sprint. There's an indicator on my screen that tells me that, so I remember, like, oh, yeah, I can do that if I want to right now. Or I have a double jump. I can double jump if I need to. And I just have those things, because like right now, the only things in the maze are the sprint and double jump power-ups, so it's not a huge deal to know if I have them or not. But like, later on, if there's like multiple kinds of power-ups and it's like, oh, I haven't found a sprint power-up in a while, but you might have an indicator telling you, hey, I don't need to find one. I already have the ability to do so. So that's why that heads-up display is going to be really useful if I can get that working nicely. But yeah, so this week's main things, we're just working on the camera a little more, changing how it works, changing how close it is to try and lessen the effects of clipping so much, finishing the map, getting the power-ups everywhere, getting the sprint power-up functional, and also there's now a pause menu, and all of these buttons are pretty functional. You can resume the game, of course. Partially do the walking animations. He's not going to go anywhere, but that is kind of the one bug with this right now. But you can restart the scene, in which case all the power-ups will be back and everything. And you can also go back to main menu and then play again from there, or just exit. And since I've showed off just about everything for this week, I think now is a good time to do that. But thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this progress was satisfactory for you all, and there will be plenty more in the week to come. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.